Atomic Habits begins with a simple but powerful idea. Big results do not usually come from one huge decision. They come from small actions repeated consistently over time. Many people want dramatic change. They want a better body, more money, stronger focus, or greater success. But they often fail because they try to change everything at once. James Clear argues that real transformation is usually much smaller and quieter. A 1% improvement may seem insignificant in a single day, but when repeated consistently, it compounds into remarkable progress. In the same way, tiny negative habits may seem harmless at first, yet they also compound and quietly shape a disappointing future. The central message is that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. What you do every day matters far more than what you do occasionally. Success is not usually the result of heroic effort. It is the result of systems, routines, and repeated behavior that slowly build a new life. One of the most memorable lessons in Atomic Habits is that you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Most people focus on goals. They want to lose weight, write a book, grow a business, wake up earlier, or become more disciplined. But goals alone do not create lasting change. Goals tell you the direction you want to go, but systems determine whether you actually get there. Two people may have the same goal, but the one with better daily processes will usually succeed. Goals are useful for setting direction, but systems are what produce progress. James Clear explains that winners and losers often share the same goals. What separates them is not the dream, but the repeated structure of their actions. If you want different results, you need better systems. This idea shifts attention away from motivation and toward repeatable behavior. It teaches that long-term success is built less by wishing and more by designing a way of life. The book takes self-improvement deeper by arguing that lasting change is not just about outcomes. It is about identity. Many people try to change habits by focusing on what they want to achieve. They say, I want to run a marathon, save money, or read more books. But James Clear says the strongest habit change begins when you focus on who you want to become. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, say, I am becoming a writer. Instead of saying, I want to exercise more, say, I am the kind of person who does not miss workouts. Every action becomes a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. A single action may not completely transform your identity, but repeated actions strengthen that identity. If you keep promises to yourself, you begin to see yourself as reliable. If you read each day, you begin to see yourself as a reader. This is powerful because identity drives behavior. People tend to act in ways that match the story they believe about themselves. James Clear explains that every habit follows a basic four-step pattern: cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to start a behavior. The craving is the desire behind that behavior. The response is the actual habit you perform. The reward is the benefit that teaches your brain whether the habit is worth repeating. This framework helps explain both good and bad habits. A cue could be waking up, feeling stressed, seeing your phone, or walking into the kitchen. The craving may be comfort, stimulation, relief, or pleasure. The response might be exercising, scrolling, eating junk food, or opening a book. The reward is the satisfaction your brain receives at the end. Understanding this loop gives you power. If habits can be built, they can also be redesigned. Rather than relying on willpower, you can shape cues, cravings, and rewards in a way that makes better behavior more natural. This is the foundation for the 4 laws of behavior change. The first law of building a good habit is to make it obvious. Good habits often fail not because people are lazy, but because the desired action is too easy to forget. If you want a new habit to stick, it needs a clear and visible trigger. James Clear recommends using implementation intentions, which means deciding exactly when and where you will do a habit. Instead of saying, I will exercise more, say, I will exercise at 7 a.m. in my living room after brushing my teeth. This simple method removes ambiguity and makes action more likely. He also suggests habit stacking, which means attaching a new habit to an existing one. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence in my journal. When a habit is connected to something already automatic, it becomes easier to remember. Making habits obvious also means shaping your environment so the right cues are in front of you. If healthy food is visible and junk food is hidden, your choices begin to change. A major insight in Atomic Habits is that environment often matters more than motivation. People like to believe that discipline is mostly an internal quality, but James Clear shows that behavior is heavily shaped by what surrounds you. If your phone is beside your bed, you are more likely to check it first thing in the morning. If books are hidden in a drawer while your television dominates the room, it becomes harder to build a reading habit. If your desk is cluttered, focus becomes more difficult. Instead of fighting constant temptation, design an environment that makes good choices easier and bad choices harder. Put the guitar in the middle of the room if you want to practice. Prepare your workout clothes the night before. Keep a water bottle on your desk. Remove distracting apps from your home screen. Small environmental changes can create huge behavioral changes because they reduce friction. The lesson is simple. Stop depending only on motivation and start shaping the physical world around you. The second law of behavior change is to make the habit attractive. We are more likely to repeat behaviors that feel appealing. One way to do this is through temptation bundling, which means pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. For example, you might only listen to your favorite podcast while walking or only watch a certain show while on the treadmill. This strategy makes the desired habit more enjoyable. James Clear also explains that habits are strongly shaped by culture and social belonging. We tend to imitate the habits of three groups: the close, the many, and the powerful. We copy our family and friends, the wider culture around us, and the people we admire. That means one of the best ways to build a better habit is to join a group where that behavior is normal. If you spend time around readers, fitness-minded people, builders, or discipline creators, their habits begin to feel natural to you. What feels normal often becomes what feels attractive. The third law is to make the habit easy. Many people fail because they make habit building feel harder than it needs to be. They create plans that are too ambitious, too perfect, or too exhausting to sustain. James Clear argues that when starting a new habit, the key is not intensity but consistency. The easier the behavior is to begin, the more likely it will become part of your routine. This is where the 2-minute rule becomes useful. When you start a habit, scale it down until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. Read 1 page. Do 1 push-up. Write 1 sentence. Meditate for 1 minute. The point is not that the tiny version is the final goal. The point is that beginning becomes automatic. Once a habit becomes part of your identity and routine, it can naturally expand. The hardest part of most habits is not the work itself. It is getting started. Easy habits lower resistance, build momentum, and create a path toward bigger change. One of the clever distinctions in the book is the difference between motion and action. Motion is planning, researching, organizing, and preparing. Action is actually doing the thing that produces a result. Motion can feel productive because it keeps you busy, but it often becomes a form of avoidance. You can spend hours planning to work out, watching videos about writing, or reorganizing your productivity system without making real progress. James Clear warns that many people stay in motion because it protects them from failure. Planning feels safe. Action creates the possibility of disappointment. But action is the only thing that creates evidence, experience, and improvement. Good habits are not built by perfect plans. They are built by repeated action, even when the action is small and imperfect. The lesson is to stop waiting until you feel fully ready. Start before you feel prepared. A small real step beats a perfect imaginary one every time. The fourth law is to make habits satisfying. Human beings are more likely to repeat behaviors that feel rewarding in the moment. This creates a challenge because many good habits have delayed rewards, while many bad habits offer immediate pleasure. Exercise, saving money, reading, and deep work often feel difficult at first, but pay off later. Junk food, scrolling, procrastination, and impulsive spending feel good now, but create problems later. To make good habits stick, James Clear recommends bringing some form of immediate satisfaction into the process. This can be as simple as checking off a habit tracker, celebrating a completed session, or using a visual system that shows progress. Habit tracking is powerful because it makes consistency visible. Seeing a streak grow creates momentum and satisfaction. The goal is not perfection, but reinforcement. When your brain begins to associate a habit with progress and reward, it becomes far easier to repeat. The same 4 laws that build good habits can be reversed to break bad ones. To reduce a bad habit, make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. If a behavior begins with a cue, remove the cue from your environment. If social media distracts you, log out, delete the app, or move it off your phone. If junk food leads to overeating, stop bringing it into the house. To make the bad habit unattractive, focus on the real cost instead of the immediate pleasure. Instead of seeing smoking as relief, see it as damage. Instead of seeing procrastination as comfort, see it as stress postponed. To make it difficult, add friction. Use website blockers, put passwords between you and the distraction, or make access inconvenient. To make it unsatisfying, create accountability. Tell someone about your goal or build a consequence if you break your commitment. Breaking bad habits is often less about fighting temptation and more about redesigning the conditions that allow temptation to win. Many people ask how long it takes to build a habit, but James Clear says a better question is how many repetitions it takes. Habits are not formed by time alone. They are formed by repeated practice. You do not become a confident speaker by waiting 30 days. You become one by speaking again and again. You do not become fit by dreaming about exercise for months. You become fit by doing enough workouts for the behavior to become familiar. This idea matters because it shifts attention away from magical timelines and toward consistent behavior. The goal is not to perform perfectly. The goal is to return often enough that the habit becomes normal. The first few attempts may feel awkward, but repetition reduces resistance and increases automaticity. Each repetition teaches your brain what is worth remembering. Progress often feels slow in the beginning because habits are being wired quietly beneath the surface. One reason people quit too early is that results are often delayed. James Clear describes this as the valley of disappointment. You work hard, stay consistent, and still see little visible progress. During this stage, people often assume their effort is not working. But habits, like compound interest, often create a long period where change is invisible before results suddenly become noticeable. A plant grows underground before it breaks the surface. A business may struggle for years before momentum appears. Fitness gains may feel invisible until a threshold is crossed. If you give up too early, you never reach the compounding effect. This is why systems matter more than mood. During plateaus, motivation fades and doubt grows. The people who succeed are often the ones who keep going long enough for the invisible work to become visible. The lesson is to trust the process when results have not yet caught up with effort. Atomic Habits does not demand perfection. In fact, one of its most useful lessons is that mistakes matter less than the pattern that follows them. You will miss workouts. You will have unproductive days. You will forget habits, break routines, and have periods of low energy. The danger is not in missing once. The danger is in letting one mistake become the start of a new pattern. James Clear recommends a simple rule: never miss twice. If you skipped your morning routine today, return to it tomorrow. If you ate badly at lunch, make dinner a better choice. If you broke your study streak, restart the next day. This mindset removes the all-or-nothing thinking that destroys many habit efforts. Progress is not about being flawless. It is about recovering quickly. A single failure does not ruin a system. Repeated abandonment does. The people who build great habits are often not the people who never fall off. They are the people who get back on track fast. James Clear also explains that habits work best when they align with your natural tendencies. Everyone has different strengths, preferences, energy patterns, and personality traits. Some people are more drawn to solitary work. Others thrive in groups. Some enjoy repetition and structure. Others love creativity and novelty. The point is not to use biology as an excuse, but to recognize that self-improvement works better when you choose the right field for your strengths. You are more likely to stay consistent when the habit fits your nature. A good strategy is to pick the game where your tendencies become an advantage. If you enjoy movement, use active habits. If you like writing, build around words. If you love competition, create score-based systems. Habits become more sustainable when effort feels natural rather than forced. The goal is not to become someone else. It is to become the strongest version of yourself. To stay motivated, tasks need to be in the sweet spot between too easy and too hard. James Clear calls this the Goldilocks rule. We stay engaged when we are working on challenges that are just beyond our current ability, difficult enough to demand effort, but not so difficult that we feel crushed. If a habit is too easy, boredom arrives. If it is too hard, anxiety and avoidance take over. This matters because long-term consistency depends not only on discipline, but also on maintaining interest. The best habits often grow in stages. Once a simple habit becomes automatic, the next step is to improve the challenge slightly. Add a little weight, write a little longer, focus a little deeper. Growth comes from being stretched without being broken. The rule reminds us that successful habits are not static. They need to evolve with us. Although the book strongly praises habits, it also warns about their downside. Habits can make life efficient, but they can also make behavior automatic in a dangerous way. Once you become skilled at something, you may stop paying attention and stop improving. Repetition without reflection can create stagnation. James Clear explains that mastery requires a combination of habits and review. You need routines to stay consistent, but you also need feedback to stay sharp. Athletes review performance. Writers revise. Professionals track results. Without reflection, habits turn into mindless repetition. This is an important reminder that self-improvement is not only about building systems, but about adjusting them. Good systems are not rigid cages. They are living structures that help you improve while leaving room for learning. By the end of the book, Atomic Habits makes a powerful case that the smallest actions can shape the largest outcomes. Tiny habits are not tiny because they do not matter. They are tiny because they are easy to ignore. But once repeated, they shape health, money, mood, focus, confidence, relationships, and identity. A better life often comes from very ordinary actions done consistently. Waking up on time. Putting the phone away. Reading 10 pages. Saving a little money. Writing 1 paragraph. Going for a walk. Preparing tomorrow the night before. These are not dramatic acts, but over time they become the architecture of a new self. James Clear's message is hopeful because it makes change feel possible. You do not need to transform overnight. You do not need a perfect personality or endless motivation. You need a better system, a clear identity, and the patience to let small wins compound. The deepest lesson of Atomic Habits is that self-respect is built through repeated promises kept to yourself. Every time you practice a good habit, Even in a very small way, you are teaching yourself that you are someone who follows through. Every time you make your bed, finish a workout, read a page, save $1, or choose the harder but better action, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. That is why habits matter so much. They are not only tools for external success. They are daily evidence of identity. A person does not become confident first and then act. Often, they act first, and confidence grows from the repeated proof of action. If you want to trust yourself more, keep small promises consistently. Over time, those actions reshape not only your schedule, but your self-image. Atomic Habits remains one of the most influential self-improvement books because it turns personal growth into something practical, realistic, and repeatable. It does not depend on extreme motivation, dramatic transformation, or rare talent. Instead, it offers a quieter and more powerful truth. Your life changes when your daily actions change. Your daily actions change when your environment, systems, identity, and repetition begin to work together. Small habits may look insignificant in the moment, but the future is built from moments exactly like these. If you improve a little, recover quickly from mistakes, and keep showing up, the direction of your life begins to shift. That is the promise of the book. Not instant perfection, but steady transformation. Not a new you overnight, but a stronger you formed one habit at a time.